On the eve of the Ontario election campaign kickoff, the Liberals are promising to cut all transit fares to $1 if elected. Veterans would ride completely free. NDP leader Andrea Horwath says the Liberal Party had the chance to make transit more affordable, but didn't.
Stephen Del Duca was the Minister of Transportation for years in the Wynne government, and they didn't do what they needed to do to help municipalities provide better transit services and more affordable transit services. For years, we have been committing, the NDP, to pay for 50% of the operating costs of local transit systems.
Ontario Liberal leader Stephen Del Duca is with us from Toronto. Hi, Mr. Del Duca. Good to have you back on the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much.
I'll give you a chance in a second to respond to those comments from the leader of the NDP, but I did want to start out just kind of on the nuts and bolts of what you're proposing, and in particular, the cost of it. The TTC's operating budget alone is $2.2 billion in 2022. My understanding is you said your plan's estimated to cost about $710 million that year and then $1.1 billion in 2023-24. Are you underestimating how much this will cost?
Well, no, we don't think we are. I mean, you have to keep in mind that because of the pandemic, ridership, not just on the TTC, but on transit systems right around Ontario has dropped quite a bit. That's why in year one, the number is $710 million, and then we anticipate that it will grow, and we want it to grow. We want transit to be more affordable. We want the ridership numbers to come up. That's why in year two, it's $1.1 billion. We're also going to be providing municipalities with an additional, over and above this, $375 million to help support their transit operations. So this is a great plan for those who understand there's an affordability crisis, and also those like me who are passionate about expanding access and affordability to public transit.
What if the uptake, though, is greater than, the speed of that uptake is greater than you anticipate it will be? What if the effects of the pandemic end sooner than anticipated and you have underestimated the cost? Where do you get the extra money from?
Well, so first of all, as a transit lover, as a transit advocate, as someone who believes in fighting climate change by having more people transition to public transit, I hope that more people decide to hop on a streetcar, a bus, a subway car, a GO train than are currently by a wide margin. I will confirm right now that if elected Premier, if more people want to get on public transit because of our plan, we will absorb that, we will welcome that, we will build contingencies into our fiscal plan, which will be contained in our platform with all of its costing details when we release that in just a few days. But I would consider that a massive win for us in this province, the 15 million people who call this province home, if more people choose transit because of the Ontario Liberal plan for buck a ride province-wide.
I note there that you said that the costing and that would be coming out in a few days. But in general, on the principle of it, let's say even the numbers stand as they are. You've made a number of promises in addition to this one: 10 paid sick days, you boost pensions for seniors, publicly funded long-term care, you're cutting HST on prepared food. I'll circle back to that question again. How do you anticipate paying for it? Will you be raising taxes in some capacity?
So a couple of things to keep in mind. I confirmed the other day when I said that we would be making prepared foods 8% cheaper, under $20 by getting rid of the HST, that as a government, Ontario Liberals will make smart and fair changes to tax policy. Number one, the biggest corporations in Ontario, those that have over $1 billion in profits, will actually see a small increase in their corporate income tax. And for the highest income earners in this province, those who earn over $500,000 a year, they will also see 2 points added to what their personal income tax rates are. That's how we're going to pay for eliminating the HST on prepared foods. Again, the rest of our costing in our platform document will be there for everyone to see in just a few days when we release it. But I also want to stress, this is about priorities. It's about the values that are right at the heart of our priorities. This is why I am so determined. We are, as a team, so determined to make public transit so much more affordable for people. It's good for their pocketbooks, and it's what they want, at the same time as helping to build a strong and healthy environment. So I'm committed to this, and I'm determined to deliver on it.
And I'm certainly not attempting to take away from the potential effectiveness of the policy itself. I think there are a lot of people who would certainly appreciate more affordable public transit right across this province.
For sure.
But what I am asking is, outside of those two tax hikes that you indicated, can the more general population, those of us who don't fit into those highest income brackets, can we anticipate our taxes going up under a Del Duca government in some way?
No.
Not at all.
No, absolutely not. So let me also just take a quick step back to say just a few days ago, the Ford Conservatives introduced a budget in this province, a budget that had no real plan in it, no coherent roadmap for Ontario's future at all. In that budget, they contained included close to $11 billion in unallocated contingencies. A few weeks ago, Ontario's independent financial accountability officer said that we should be at balance next year and have a $7 billion surplus in just a couple of years. This is my way of saying, when I talk about the values that inform the decisions I would make as Premier and the priorities that I have, it's about where you want to put the emphasis. Doug Ford wants to make the rich richer. I want to make public transit more affordable for everyday, hardworking Ontario families.
So you'll put contingency towards the priorities you've identified. No tax hikes. Is that clear? Just yes or no? No tax hikes. Okay.
Over and above. Yeah, no, again, no tax hikes beyond what we've already committed to. Highest income earners and those most profitable corporations.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Duca. I do want to give you the chance to respond to what Ms. Horvath was saying. And more specifically, the charge that she's saying, you were transit minister under the Liberal government. You had ample opportunity to implement something like this. She also cited a report from the Auditor General in 2018 that basically said you were more focused on the GO station in your home riding than making transit more affordable. That Auditor General report basically said that the Metrolinx decided to approve plans for the GO station against its own internal recommendation and cited political pressure from you in doing so. How do you respond to that?
Look, I think for progressives right across this province, it's deeply disappointing on a day when we should all be celebrating how we can make public transit more affordable for people who are working so hard but falling further and further behind, that Andrea Horwath and the NDP would want to descend into the traditional playbook and slinging mud instead of saying, you know what, Del Duca and the Liberals have a good idea. People in this province want to see more collaboration, and we should all be secure enough as leaders to admit when one of our opponents has a good idea. I hope the NDP and, frankly, Conservatives and others will realize making transit more affordable is the right thing to do for the people of Ontario, and will join with us to make that happen. All of us across the entire spectrum. When one of your opponents has a good idea, you should be confident enough to say it's a good idea. We'll keep looking for new ways to make life better and more affordable for Ontarians, and I would sincerely hope that Andrea Horwath and the Conservatives under Doug Ford put the old playbook away and let's build a new Ontario with new priorities, new progress, and new focus.
Respectfully, Mr. Del Duca, that did not in any way address the substance of what Ms. Horwath is saying, and that is why when you were transit minister, didn't you do more at the time to do exactly what you're announcing right now?
Well, let's talk about two fundamental differences between now and then. Right now in Ontario, there is a very well understood and well sort of felt affordability crisis that didn't exist in the province to the same extent 4, 5, 6 years ago. And secondly, we've had a pandemic. Ridership on transit has dropped through the floor over the past 2 years. So, I'm talking about the current state of affairs when we want to bring ridership back up and we want to make life so much more affordable for Ontarians. That's what our plan goes at. It goes right to the heart of doing both as we go forward, not spending all of our time looking in the rearview mirror and playing politics the old way. So again, I'm focused on building more transit, making it far more affordable. I'm focused on giving people a real stark choice between the Ford Conservatives dragging us backwards and Ontario Liberals, the new team that wants to move this province forward.
Speaking of the Ford Conservatives, just before I let you go, Mr. Del Duca, I have to ask, we're 2 days out from the start of the campaign. The Prime Minister, a federal Liberal, making an announcement side by side with the Premier, your political rival. Do you see anything wrong with that?
No, look. From my perspective, the Prime Minister is governing, but Doug Ford, for now more than a year, has been campaigning full time.
Pardon me, sorry, that was just the audio.
Campaigning full time and not. That's okay. I was saying, look, for me, the Prime Minister has been governing this province, this country still is. Doug Ford's been campaigning nonstop for the last number of months. I'm going to focus again on our positive plan and the new Ontario Liberal team. We are determined to deliver progress for the people of Ontario, and that's the stark choice. Backwards with the Ford Conservatives, forward with Ontario Liberals.
Do you see any kind of alignment, though, politically speaking? And, we've spoken about strategy many times on this program before with you. Is there sort of some strategic benefit for the Prime Minister and the Premier to be appearing together, given the number of switch voters in ridings that are of crucial importance to both of them?
Well, look, I don't think the people of this province look at politics and government that way. I think they're looking for leaders and candidates in their respective ridings who actually have their best interests at heart, who want to deliver real progress. I don't think my neighbors, my family, my friends sit around the table and try to figure out the strategies that are behind all these things. That's why I'm so firmly focused on the 15 million people who call this province home and their future. And that's why I want to deliver economic dignity, more affordable public transit. We want to phase out seniors, the for-profit long-term care, and make a home care first guarantee, and build an economy that puts workers and their families and small businesses right at the center of our decision-making. That's what I'm focused on. Not the strategies, not trying to divvy up power, not politics for politicians' sake, politics for people's sake. It's long overdue.
Mr. Del Duca, I'll leave it there. Appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
That's Ontario Liberal leader Stephen Del Duca.